Don't give up. That always seems like the best advice to give yourself and others. But is it? Hey, moms, welcome to the Life Unboxed podcast, where we talk about all things momtrepreneur, from raising your kids to running a business, and the most important one, keeping your sanity. I am Jody the mom, a successful virtual assistant and homeschool mom of 6 for almost 10 years. Be sure to visit lifeunboxed.blog and download your free Mom Boss 2.0 workbook. If you like to be a rebel mom and break all the rules, then this is for you. You can support the show with coffee. Visit Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/lifeunboxedblog, and buy this mom some coffee. Okay, so let's get into this week's topic. I know. Don't give up. I've handed out this nugget of wisdom to myself, my husband, and my kids. Most of the time, I would say it is the right advice. I think we should finish what we start. But sometimes there are occasions when this just isn't good advice. I recently came across an article, and it was talking about how to never give up on anything. And the title caused me to pause. While I am a huge proponent of perseverance and grit, I had to stop and think. So aren't there some things that we should give up on? If we never give up on anything or quit, then we will never change and grow, right? Quitting really gets a bad rap. And if we were to stop and think, we would probably realize that we quit more than we actually think we do. If we never give up, then we don't make room for something better. Let's face it, moms, we only have 24 hours in a day. And I know it stinks. Do you know what I could do with a 36-hour day? Anyway, in order to grow, we need to make room in our lives for something else. And that can only happen when we give up on something. Yes, there are times when we can add things, but in most cases, we need to quit something in order to make room for something else. So while quitting sounds like a bad thing, it doesn't always live up to its reputation. All right, don't give up when you feel like it. One of the most important things you need to know about quitting is timing. Sometimes we need to quit, and other times we just need to put on our big girl pants and do the hard things. So never quit when you feel like it. I know this is a hard one. So yes, there are hard times and times when we feel like we just want to give up. All moms feel that way now and again. But this is not the time to decide to quit. So when you're in the midst of it, this is not, and all you want to do is to quit. That's not the time to make the decision. So a homeschool mom friend recently said to me, I've been homeschooling for 17 years and I want to quit every February. So mom, you're not alone. Whether you're homeschooling, launching a business, growing a business, or just doing life, there are going to be times you want to give up. So this is a feeling that all moms experience, and know that you're not alone in it. So never decide to give up when you're in the depths of feeling like you just want to quit. These feelings will probably steer you in the wrong direction every single time. So wait until you are in a better place emotionally and you can think through the pros and cons rationally. So I have been in this place many times. So that's why I need the constant reminders and motivation to stick with this business. And of course, I have another show on that. So I will leave the link in the show notes below. So my husband reminds me to never decide when I'm feeling like the best thing to do is just quit. So when I'm in the depths of wanting to quit, he always tells me not to do it then. He goes, if you want to do it later, he goes, I'll support you in whatever you want to do. Just don't make the decision now. And when I wait, I always decide to keep going. I know it feels cruel sometimes. It really does. But let me tell you about a time that I did quit, because did you know lifeunboxed.blog is not the first blog I started? Yep, there was another one. And to be honest with you, it was pretty terrible. Posts were like 250 words because I just didn't know what what I was writing about or what I wanted to say. So it was not the best, but it was a good learning experience. But I remember reaching the point of just needing to quit. It wasn't an emotional decision, but one that was based on rational reasoning. And you know what? I've never regretted that decision. If I didn't make room by giving up on the old, tired blog, I wouldn't have the capacity to publish this new one, which, trust me when I say, it is so much better than the old one. All right, let's talk about why you should quit. There are many reasons to quit, and there are many reasons to keep going. So here are a few reasons to quit something. Okay, but I need to preface this because as I was writing this and putting it together, I wanted to be sure to be clear that I'm not referring to your marriage relationship or your relationship with your kids. This advice is intended to stay on the surface of things rather than apply to people. So these deeper, more meaningful relationship issues should probably be dealt with in the more nuanced setting of a counselor's office and not a blog post or a podcast show. But I will say this. I think you should fight for these two relationships like your life depends on it. They are that important. Okay. Now, back to the more surface level of life. Here are 3 reasons don't give up is not always the best advice. You need to quit to make room for something else. Sometimes for you to get to the next step, you need to end something. You only have 24 hours in a day, and you can't do everything as much as we try. So if you need to make room for something better, then you will need to quit something else. Number 2, if you haven't seen success. I know we are told that if we just believe in ourselves hard enough and chase our dreams with every fiber of our being, then we will see success. But what if this never happens? How much of your life and resources are you going to invest in something before you spend it all? So this was a question posed in Necessary Endings by Dr. Henry Cloud. If you haven't seen success, and I'm not talking about overnight success, and of course I have a show on that too, but success in a reasonable time frame. So if you haven't seen that reasonable time frame, then it might be time to quit. Number 3, if there's a better option, hello, there are so many opportunities that come our way or that we make happen. If something better has landed in your lap, then quit. Quit that old tired thing that you don't even want to do in the first place. Don't give up would definitely be the worst advice at a time like this. Okay, so that's why you should quit. Now let's talk about when to quit. So I believe in natural endings. Whether you're dealing with a client from hell, show in the link in the show notes below, or playing a sport, finding a natural conclusion is the best way to quit. That can be the conclusion to the season or the conclusion to a project, or it can just be 2 weeks notice, depending on your job. I will say this is totally free. Side note. I don't believe in giving more than 2 weeks notice because I've seen too many people actually get hurt and things end well when they give a long drawn out notice. But that's just my 2 cents. Let's have some coffee while we're at it. And let's keep going. So here are 3 tips to decide when to quit. Toxic environment or client. If you are in a place that is just destroying your heart, soul, and energy, it is not sustainable and you need to leave. If you're in a place that is not equipping you to grow, but is actually diminishing you, then decide to quit. Yes, think through the process. When you aren't in a state of high emotion, then make your decision. You should always have a plan in place when you quit. Ask yourself, what are the next steps once I make this decision? If you're just dropping a difficult client, it may have no effect on you. But if you're quitting a full-time job, this will have a major impact on you and your family. So make the decision very carefully. Number 2, after research, thought, and counsel. Never quit on a whim or flippantly. As much as that would satisfy that revenge part of our personalities, it's not going to serve you well in the long term. And it is really important to think through your decision, do your research, and ask for advice. These things are incredibly important. Whenever you decide to quit, it will affect you, possibly negatively in the short term. So make sure you are prepared for this impact, whether that is to save a certain amount of money, make plans to move, or get your resume up to date. All of these can have a negative impact on you in the short term. In the long term, I think is probably the best decision you can make. But in the short term, plan for those things that are going to negatively impact you in the short term. So think through the ramifications of your decision. How can you lessen these negative impacts, and what steps do you need to take to prepare for the change? Number 3, you should quit if it will be better for your family. At different times throughout our marriage, my husband has changed jobs, not always because it was the best career move, but it was better for our family. So when I decided to start my virtual assistant business, this was made in large part because it would be better for my family. It was better to move from being a corporate workhorse to momtrepreneur. Link in the notes below. So that is actually why I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. It's much more comfortable working for someone else. I'll be honest, people who are you're just supporting someone else's vision if you're not making, casting your own vision. I'm totally fine with that. I really am. So it's easy when you're in a place of just executing the ideas and vision of someone else. And I'm really good at that. And I didn't have to come up with those things on my own. And I didn't need to worry about my paycheck. It was always there. But it was better for my family for me to step out of my comfort zone, be my own boss, raise my kids, and enjoy my life. And the link to download that workbook is in the show notes below. All right, but now let's talk about the flip side. When don't give up is the right advice. So I never tell anyone to quit flippantly. As a matter of fact, I think you should finish what you start. It is important to create a habit of finishing. So this helps you to keep going when things are hard, when you want to give up and you shouldn't. And it creates the virtue of perseverance, which, if we're honest with ourselves, many people are lacking in today's culture. So despite everything that I've just mentioned, I do think more times than not that it is better to finish something and have it fail than to put time into it and quit. Because you'll never know if it could have been a success. I think Stephen Pressfield, who is he wrote a couple of books and they're kind of popular. Now the titles are, I think it was I can't remember now. I know one was Do the Work. But one of his books, it took 15 years to catch on. And then when it did, everybody was talking about it. So 15 years. I know, we're moms. We don't have that kind of time. All right, more coffee. So here are 3 tips when don't give up is the right advice. Number 1, when it's hard. This is not a sign that it is time to give up because anything worth doing is hard. Link in the show notes below. Being a mom is hard. A homeschool mom is hard. It is hard being a momtrepreneur. Fighting mom burnout is hard. There are so many things in life that are hard, but this is not a reason to give up. When it is uncomfortable. Sometimes things aren't hard, they're just uncomfortable. And let's be honest, we like to be comfortable. It is enjoyable to have our comfort food, our warm PJs, and slippers. I don't like to venture out of my comfort zone either. Again, this is not a reason to quit. So it stinks. Sometimes we need to be uncomfortable in order to grow and get better at what we are doing, which is the truth that we just need to accept. So when you haven't, number 3 is when you haven't reached a milestone. Sometimes you need to quit a business or a job, so determine the milestone you will make the decision at. For example, all the experts say it takes 3 years to really establish a blog. So it would be counterproductive for me to decide to quit after 2 years. I would never know if it would have worked out or not because I didn't reach the logical milestone. And even other business advice, they'll tell you if like 2 to 3 years is kind of when you start seeing your business making money. 5 years is the big milestone. And honestly, that's when most businesses quit, is at the 5-year mark. So if you can extend your patience to even 7 years, you have a greater chance of being successful with your business because the competition has faded a little bit. So if you haven't reached the logical place or milestone, then keep going. Don't sell yourself short. So sometimes we find ourselves in very hard circumstances, and whether you decide that you need to give up or continue, do your best. So wherever you are at, go all in on the decision you made. Okay, so I want to tell you that I create exclusive content for my newsletter. So I try to get that out at least once a month, and it allows me to go more in depth and more personal and share on life, homeschooling, and business. So be sure to sign up for the free newsletter and get content that's just for you. It also enables you to communicate directly with me by just replying to the emails I send. And don't worry, I don't spam because I only have so many hours in the day and I can't create so much content. So that's why that happens. But I am so glad you joined me today. If you want to help spread the word, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember to check out the Life Unboxed store for all of your Mom Boss merch. And you can support the show with coffee, which is one of my favorite things. Visit Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/Life Unboxed blog to buy this tired mama a cup of joe. For more great momtrepreneur content, follow Life Unboxed on social media or check out lifeunboxed.blog. And be sure to share the podcast and video with your friends. And I will see you in the next show.